this event in support of Tour de Cure and the Diabetes Foundation. It's a great honor for us to have so many customers and so many local cyclists here for this event this evening. We have some great sponsors and some great people who support this event that I would like to thank. So Tour de Cure are here. We're going to raise some awareness for their cause here tonight. And we also have already raised quite a bit of money, which we want to share with you. Not the money, the fact that we raised it. We have Gateway Harley-Davidson, presented by Trek team here tonight. So we want to introduce you to some fine athletes and cyclists who are going to be part of the next generation of cyclists. The event is kindly sponsored tonight by DLA Piper, Bicycle Passport, Tour de Cure, and we're really excited to have them supporting our local cycling community and also these local and national causes. And further to that, I'd like to introduce you to our MC for the evening, and that is Mark Nadeau. So Mark is the co-director or co-chair for the Business and Commercial Litigation Committee at DLA Piper, a local law firm. Mark's specialty is involved in complex commercial cases throughout the United States, and his areas of specialty are real estate, energy, hospitality, trade secrets, and a whole bunch of other areas where he's renowned for nationally and internationally. Mark is a tremendous advocate of cycling here locally and causes that are near and dear to our hearts, and has a long affiliation with diabetes as a cause. And I'd like to invite Mark up here to come and speak to us about what we have going on this evening. And without further ado,
thank you, Pork. Pork and I have been friends for quite a while, and you can tell that might occur because we're the same height. We can look each other in the eye. Each of us has been trying to grow up our entire lives so that we can look at like some of the really good bicyclists in the room. It hasn't happened yet, but we're still trying, and we're not going to give up. How did I meet him? I came for a fitting, right? And believe it or not, folks, the laying on of hands eliminated pain, gave me power. And I have been riding over mountain passes in Colorado since. And beyond that, you might have picked up that he's Irish. And he's got a great sense of humor. And so if you're ever in a spot to get a bike fitting, followed with a little Irish whiskey of the high grade, and maybe some music and some storytelling, let me tell you, this is the guy, okay? So we're bonded, and he wanted to do a presentation and work with the Tour de Cure. And I've been involved with diabetes in this state pretty seriously for a number of years. Each of us is fortunate because we don't have it. But many of you who are here, and you'll hear from one in just a moment who has it, have that disease either as type 1 or type 2. You should not be smug about whether you will get this disease. It's coming out of the woodwork, and it's happening to people who are very healthy. There are people riding at the domestic level in the United States with diabetes on teams who were going along being triathletes in the best of shape, and then suddenly came down with type 2 diabetes, and then type 1. So what does this disease do? It can deprive you of your sight. One of my very good friends in Tucson is having laser surgery on her eyes constantly because her sight is fading. And she's a great lady with a full family and a spirit that's remarkable because there's never any complaining. It can take away your limbs with amputations. It can take away jobs. Believe it or not, I was a sheriff's officer at one point in my life. And I rode with an officer who came down with diabetes. And he got pulled from his profession at that point. So this is the kind of thing that is really serious. It's happening all around you. And the darned thing is, it's in your offices and it's in your personal lives, but it's silent. Because we've advanced. We now have the pump. People are going along with the pump and they're not telling you about it. They're in the restaurants, they're around you in your offices, and it's not loud. But it should be really loud. Because think of the fact that there are approximately 34 million people with this disease in the United States. Think further about what it would do to our budget. You've all heard about budgets and back and forth and health and everything else. You are tired of it. But what if we could eliminate $350 billion spent treating this disease? Which isn't something people asked for, and it's not something they did. They didn't bring it on themselves. So we could do that. Folks, we really could do it. The amazing thing is, here we are, now in the 21st century, and the developments have been remarkable with treatments, right? The pump and all of those things, the pens, pancreatic replacements, transplants, things of that sort. Remarkable. And when has it happened? It's happened in the lifetimes of all of you. It's not way back there. It's happening now. So in the 21st century, we can. You have to believe this. I want you to believe this. I want you to take it into your soul. We can actually cure it. So you're not just at another fundraiser where we're going, darn, it's too bad for those people. Let's put in a few bucks. We're at something where we need research dollars, and we need it from the private sector. We need it from people like you, because we cannot get enough funding otherwise. But it's curable. It's sitting in front of us. And if we fix it, think of the fix that goes on for the generations thereafter and even in your lifetimes now. So that's my pitch for you. Why do we do cycling? Because we like to talk about health. Horik, my Irish friend, does research on how to make bikes and people go faster. You've seen the lab out front. If you have not stopped and looked, just paused for a moment and considered what's in that lab and the amount of software that can tell where exactly your position should be on the bike, what aerodynamics would be, how to make you go faster, you're missing out. And that ties in to diabetes because we're moving faster. We're getting there, okay? It's happening. What I'd like to introduce now is one of our youth ambassadors who has diabetes and is a rider. A red rider, we call those with diabetes who are out there. She's one of the top mountain bicyclists in the state in her age bracket. She is solid, right? She is a rock. She would put Brent Emmett to shame. So, in any event, Hayden, if you'll come up and give these people a little talk, that would
be great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to be in a place where you're so supported and everyone knows exactly, or maybe not exactly, but supports you no matter what. I just want to share a little bit of a story with you guys. So for most people, the ground is a constant variable. The stable floor beneath your feet will always be just that, stable. But for me, during the summer of my 6th grade, I found myself in Phoenix Children's Hospital with 2 IVs in my arms. I weighed 47 pounds. That's roughly half the size that I should have been at 12 years old. And suddenly that oh-so-stable floor was transformed into a tightrope. When the nurse told me I had type 1 diabetes, I didn't even know what the word diabetes meant. I thought, diabetes. Am I gonna die? I didn't know. I was really, really scared. And when she told me that every time I wanted to eat something, that food or snack would be paired with a needle with a shot, I was terrified. But the scariest thing of all that she told me was that my healthy life would now be dictated by my ability to balance my blood sugars, much like balancing on a tightrope. So while I was in the hospital recovering from diabetic ketoacidosis, I practiced walking on my new diabetic tightrope with the help of my mother, my father, and my younger brother, Cade, who was very, very supportive in the process. They did everything they could to make me feel normal again. But as you could have guessed, being a good tightrope walker comes with a lot of practice and a lot of time. But my diabetes didn't know who it was up against. I'm a straight-A student, an older sister, an overachiever, and I'm currently 5th in the state for competitive mountain biking junior varsity. Thank you. And there's no way that I was going to let diabetes stop me from doing what I wanted to do. 4 years ago, my parents convinced me to get into a bus to summer camp. Very fun, except for when you've never been to a summer camp, and much less away from your parents for more than a couple of days, maybe at grandma's house. But this was no ordinary camp. This was Camp ASDA. And if you don't know about Camp ASDA is the American Diabetes Association's camp for only type 1 diabetics ages 8 through 16. And to finally be in a place where you could prick your fingers and no one would ask you, oh, what are you doing? Stop. Or to be in a place where you would take insulin for your food and you would kind of guess the carbs or guess your blood sugar, or your friends would make kind of guesses on what you were. It was home. And oftentimes I find myself saying that Camp ASDA is better than Disneyland. And to me, it really is. It is one place that I will forever hold in my heart because I get to be exactly who I am at Camp ASDA. Earlier in February, the ADA stood with millions of Americans affected by diabetes and hundreds and thousands of advocates across the country to celebrate the 2-year renewal of the Special Diabetes Program. This ensured that the critical research and effective long-term funding needed to support life-saving type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes prevention and management programs made sure that this all stayed in place for the American Indian communities. And just today, the ADA hosted the Arizona Diabetes Day at the Capitol. And a huge round of applause for that, because that is a huge feat. It's one thing to say that you're going to make a change. It's another thing to go down to the Capitol and do it. It's huge, huge, amazing applause. Let's see here. So we had over 110 advocates meet with over 60 legislators to make their voices heard. Again, such an accomplishment. But these accomplishments and opportunities are made possible because of donors, sponsors, and participants of Tour de Cure, like you guys, exactly you guys. And one individual that I would like to single out, who recently singled me out, is Mark. So, huge hand to Mark in just a second here. And a huge thank you for helping us earn the King of the Mountain Award. And as you may recall, at last year's executive ride, our regional VP, Sonia Barrow, challenged our event to earn this year's award for the mountain region. This is an overall increase of funding and participation, which includes tours of Colorado, Utah, and Texas. So it's a big competition. And Arizona won with a 27% increase in funds raised overall 2017 and 2016. This right here shows our accomplishment, determination, and strength that we have together. Huge thank yous, guys. But the main thing I wanted to tell you guys today was that we come from many roads, but for the Tour de Cure, we come together for one purpose. I created my team for the Tour de Cure, the North Valley Riders, and I'll be riding with some of my team members and coaches, and I encourage you to create or join any team, even mine. I'm riding for the 34 million diagnosed Americans, and for the ability to proudly tell you that one day I had diabetes. So thank you so much for your support, and let's stop diabetes together.
You can see that's a lady you could follow, right? She will be a leader, and if you go to law school, come see me in a couple of years. We did this event tonight, sort of a co-conspiracy between the two of us to put this together, but we wanted to actually raise some money while we're here. And in doing that, we've got some marvelous donors. So for Tony Williams, who's the chair of the Tour de Cure and has been doing a great job and is probably the guy really responsible for that 27%. We've got some checks to present. And so for Bicycle Passport, who's one of the sponsors here tonight, we have Melissa Barzak, who's coming up, and she's got a check to present. Let me hold the check and you can talk for just a second.
There you go.
A very small check. Bicycle Passport is extremely happy to present this check to ADA. Camp Asda. Every year I hear the stories of Camp Asda, and it just brings joy and also a tear to my eye. So Bicycle Passport, we are essentially asking you to go on a quest. Bicycle Passport. Go to bicyclepassport.com. Check out the website. We're currently in Colorado. 41 passes in Colorado, all above 10,000 feet. And we've created an actual physical passport where you can document your quest and journey. So you stamp it as you accomplish those passes, and it's a fabulous little memorabilia piece. So go to bicyclepassport.com, check it out. More importantly, $3,500 to ADA.
Thank you, Melissa. Get in there for the obligatory photo. That's good. We have another one from the law firm that I'm the managing partner of, which is a matching number. DLA Piper is the largest law firm in the world with 4,400 lawyers. I'm the managing partner of the Arizona office. I am also the national chair for our commercial litigation group and do international disputes as well. It's been a great ride for me with this firm, but the great thing about the firm is that I can go to my colleagues and talk to them about this kind of event, and we can match the clients that we've got who are contributing this evening and to contribute to a worthy cause. We also have another one, which comes from Cafe Valley for $5,000, right? Cafe Valley is a major business here in the Phoenix metro area and outside of Indianapolis, but home base is here. We oftentimes forget, I think, in our lives that there's actual manufacturing and businesses that are here. And this one is a supplier to all of the Costco's and Starbucks and everything, all of those goods you eat, the blueberry muffins, which we can't eat too many of, dang it, okay? But the bundt cakes, you've seen those everywhere, okay? All of that is produced here, and you see it every time you go to any supermarket or into a Starbucks or any of those coffee shops. This is what they're doing, and it's right here in your backyard. And they've got a new 600,000 square foot facility in Indianapolis, so they're supplying to the East Coast now. Who would have thunk here in Arizona we've got something that big going on that handles all the West, and then they've got the East Coast too. But they contributed at our request food for the Saturday ride, which is pretty cool, Woo! And a little number like $5,000 tonight, which is awesome. Right. So. Thank you, Tom.
First of all, thank you for this great partnership. Come on up, guys. I just wanted to give you a handshake on behalf of the ADA and all of the volunteers. If you're a volunteer for the ADA or on the committee, just raise your hand. We're very grateful for you. We're grateful for the partnership. This funding is very important. Hayden talked about the ASTA camp. I've been there. I've seen the kids. I've seen kids that they administer their insulin for the first time on their own, away from their parents. They have the doctors and nurses there to support them. It's transformational. It brings tears to your eyes to see that they actually feel normal for 1 week in their life. So we thank you for your donations again. We are trying to raise $500,000 this year, and this makes a significant dent. How many people are riding Saturday? Raise your hand. So we have a lot of our team captains here for the Tour de Cure. That means you registered a team, you're representing tonight, and you'll be here Saturday, so thank you again. So we are looking for donations. We do need help. $6 billion alone in Arizona for indirect and indirect health cost related costs for healthcare. So March 17th is our event. And what a way for all these healthy people to come out and support either volunteering or participating. We have a walk, we have a run, and we have a 10 to century ride. So we're looking for your support. We love your energy. We love the partnerships. And we've got a great speaker coming up. And I know we're all waiting for that. So once again, thank you. Thank you, the ADA, for helping to sponsor this event tonight. Greatly appreciate it. Mark, thank you. CycloLogic, thank you.
Okay, so we got some checks put together, okay? But also because Boric services some of the best cycling teams and individuals around the world. They come here, I'm talking about Cafe Valley in the United States. This guy draws people in here to work with him on how to get fit on their bicycle and get aerodynamic and all of the research and software that he's got that goes into this. But because of that connection, we have a Trek bike tonight. Mark Andrews, who's here. Mark, where are you? There he is. He's hiding right over here underneath the speaker so he can hear me loud and clear. Mark Andrews is from Waterloo and is at the Trek factory and the HQ, right? And he works with all of the racing teams that are on Trek bicycles. You see them. This is the 2017 Ferrari, as he calls it. Okay, now this thing flies down the road. This is a 58. This is the same bicycle that is being ridden around the world right now by the best of the riders. Okay, this is it. So it is up for you in a raffle. Okay, now the key thing about this raffle is that if you put in $50 or more, and come on, you folks. I can see looking at you, you got more than $50 in your wallets. Okay? If you leave tonight without putting in on this raffle, you be ashamed driving home. Okay? Because the deal is, not only could you win the bike, but regardless of whether you win the bike, did you hear me? Regardless of whether you win the bike, and you know you're going to win, you're lucky, right? You will be in the VIP pen with whom? Robert Bobke Roll, right? And you will roll with this guy over here on Saturday morning, okay? And not everybody gets in the VIP pen, okay? So if you're here tonight, you sort of have a little angle on that. Right? You can maybe like get right up there and go out with him, which means actually you might be able to chat with him really and truly, as opposed to what I do. How are you? Okay. So the deal is, get in this raffle. If you want to put in something less than $50, we have helmets and other things, and you'll be in the raffle for that. But I haven't run into anybody tonight here who can't even put in a little more than the 50, okay? So we'd like you to do that. Now, Mary Ryan, and Ann Dennis, okay, are here, and the ADA, the American Diabetes Table, is here in the back of this room. All you have to do is come over, give them a check, give them the cash, give them a credit card, you get a raffle ticket, you see if you get the Ferrari, and Mark Andrews will explain it all to you, and this guy will fit you on it, okay? And, geez, that's worth, I mean, that's worth lots of money to me.
It's worth lots of money if you ride a 58 and a 58 fits you.
Yeah. See, I told you he was Irish and he's funny. He was supposed to leave that out because every one of you can ride this bike with his fit.
That's what I meant to say.
We get clogs on your feet, you'll be fine. You'll reach the dang pedals, right?
Yes.
So, and with Andrews, who's here, we'll figure out a seat post. We'll do whatever the heck has to be done. But just trust us, you will look really pretty on this Project One custom paint job bike, right? So put in a few bucks and show us that you care and show us that you actually want to help cure diabetes, and that this woman is going to look to you to do it, right? Back to you now, sir.
Wow. So, just in case some of you don't make it to the end, I want to make sure and remind you that Saturday morning at 8 a.m., a small, actually pretty large group of us will be leaving here for 2 rides, a 25-mile ride and a 35-mile ride, 2 options. We'll have the Bob Key VIP start option, which we've just learned about. And we'll have a bunch of like-minded people here in town in support of the Tour de Cure cause and in support of just a camaraderie of us all being cyclists. So Bob will be here. We'll have a nice breakfast catered by the generous sponsor that we learned about tonight. And we would love to have you here for this. It's not going to be a race. It's going to be a bunch of people out there in support of these great causes, and these great youth ambassadors. We'll probably hear some more from those at the weekend. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce the one, the only, Mr. Bob Roll. So, when we were plotting and planning this event with all these fine young men that we're going to introduce you to tonight, it occurred to me that once upon a time, about 15 years ago, you were a young amateur cyclist.
A few more years.
A few more years than that. So,
We won't say how many.
We won't say how many. Sort of 15-ish.
Yes.
Because in Ireland, we like to throw ish into a lot of things, right? So, once upon a time, you were this amateur cyclist. You were thinking about this transition to, you know, the big times. Did you dream about the Tour de France, or what was it like when you were where these guys are at?
That's a really good question. The landscape has changed so much because I go back to the prehistory of, it's almost a different world that we live in. And when I started, there was books about cycling and magazines that came out once every 2 months overseas. And then a month after that, they were imported into the States. And I was lucky enough to grow up in the Bay Area in Northern California. And there was a few bike shops across the country that imported these magazines and books about cycling. So obviously no internet, no Peter Sagan popping wheelies videos to dream about. Although in my imagination, I presaged that happening by many decades. Tried a wheelie, broke my tailbone. No, that's no lie. It's still painful once in a while. When the barometer drops, I know when it's gonna rain because my tailbone starts aching. And oddly enough, it started aching before I came out here, and it was like winter just hit, apparently. But through the magazines, I started to get an idea of what I wanted to do and how I sort of started to imagine the sport of professional cycling. And there was a Sunday program. I don't know if anybody remembers the Wide World of Sports.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They did a segment. There was the Lumberjack games. Remember the Lumberjack games? Few less. And then there was arm wrestling. World Arm Wrestling Championships from Petaluma. And then there was a segment on Paris-Roubaix. And I had just started riding, and in Berkeley there was a lot of really strong cyclists, and I had been dropped on every single training ride up until that point. And I watched the Wide World of Sports Paris-Roubaix, and it was like a highlight package. So there was a lot of poetic language that was used, a lot of impression. The images were they left an impression on me. And so the next day, I told all the guys in my bike club, I'm doing Paris-Roubaix. And they laughed out loud. And I'm like, no, I swear to God, I'm doing it. I'm going to do that. They're like, oh, you're so crazy. No American's ever done Paris-Roubaix. You don't just go do Paris-Roubaix. I'm like, I don't know how. I don't even know where it is, but I'm going to do it. I'm doing Paris-Roubaix. And not more than 2 years later, they had to watch me do Paris-Roubaix. And that was a So you need to have a dream. You need goals. They don't have to be as unrealistic as mine were.
So, you got inspired. You saw this Paris-Roubaix thing. You heard them waxing lyrically about the cobblestones, the muck, the weather. You saw people crashing. How did you go from getting dropped to 2 years later? So what switch did that switch in you? How did you get there?
Yeah, I was working 2 jobs, and I still can't afford to live in the Bay Area. That's a long time ago. I was barely paying my rent, and you need support. And we're going to get to this in a little bit. This is the whole focus of this. And that started to trickle in. And I just showed enough talent for that little spark to start snowballing and get more support. And my first pro race, which I don't recommend, and I'm going to mention this to your riders, was the Tour of Italy, the Giro. That was my
Your first one?
And which I don't recommend. That's how I turned pro Giro. Turned pro Thursday, started the Giro on Saturday. And they're like, free food in Italy for you. Free food. They didn't know my food budget, so I made like $75,000 in 1 month. So that was the process. However, is a little bit more involved in that, obviously. And you start to get better, and you start to do well in the races, and then support starts to come your way. And so, even though now you do decent in any big race, and you instantaneously have a following on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and that. So the pathway now is maybe even a little bit more realistic than it was for us when no Americans had done any of those big events, and no American team did the Tour de France. So it's a very different landscape, but those experiences haven't changed that much. Is what you dream about, you can make happen with the right amount of support.
So I remember growing up in cycling in Ireland, and we obviously had Sean Kelly and we had Stephen Roach and all these guys. And I remember, because something you just said resonated with something that I heard them talk a lot about with turning pro, that you had to be able to hold down a full-time job. So as when you went to that next level, you had something to give up to get better.
And you have more time to rest and train.
Right? Exactly. But today we've all these feeder programs, we've all this stuff. How was the School of Hard Knocks version versus, programs like Gateway Harley Davidson and, presented by Trek? How different is that? Because you got thrown into the sharks.
Yeah. I try not to think about that too much. There's Jens Voigt over there, and he grew up in Berlin on the wrong side of the wall. And for him to be able to flourish in our sport is pretty remarkable. But but he's completely bananas. He's the craziest person you will ever meet, and I'm hoping that and he reminds me a lot of myself, of how I was, and he said, yeah, Bob, we're cut from the same cloth. I'm like, I think that's a compliment, but... And I said to him, I said, in a good way, right? The good... No, not in a good way. Oh, no, not in a good way. No, Bobka, not in a good way. Free food, though.
All right, before we get into the riders, you had a dream, you pursued it, you followed it. What kept you going? You had a long career, you got to do lots of different things. Was it this mental fortitude you developed and said, I'm going to do this in 2 years, and you did it? What kept you going?
I tell you, that's a good question. My teammates, we supported each other, and we kept each other motivated. And when one of us was struggling, and that most of the time.
And who was struggling the most?
We did have a sliding scale, and the bottom of the scale was a rider from Southern California that abandoned his bike and his suitcase and grabbed his passport and abandoned the sport by getting a taxi to the airport outside Paris the night before Paris-Roubaix, climbed out his hotel window and vanished flew back to LA and never went to Europe again. That's the bottom of the scale. And so, without naming names, we said, you're not going to abandon your suitcase, are you? You're not at that level. And so then we would go through, do the math, until we were all enthused about whatever the next race was. And I think my teammates might say the same thing. Without my teammates, that would have never happened, because we had a great camaraderie, and we supported each other, and that made a huge difference. And I would have given up many times without my teammates. And so hopefully that's the ambiance that can be engendered with the Gateway Harley-Davidson Trek team.
Yeah, and it kind of brings me to one of the things that I see. There's that expression that it takes a village, to raise, a healthy, well-rounded individual. And when I see what we do with Pro Tour athletes and what we do with, the foundation teams that feed through to that, it takes coaches, it takes the support of sponsors, it takes bike fitters, it takes bike shops. It's this massive infrastructure necessary to get these riders to this level. And I'm going to introduce Chris Creed now, whose crazy idea was to start this team. And he's going to just talk a little bit about Gateway Harley-Davidson, and then he'll introduce the first rider, and Bob will take it from there.
Thank you, Bort. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Again, my name is Chris Creed from the Gateway Harley-Davidson Trek team. I want to thank DLA Piper, Bicycle Passport, and Tour de Cure for coming together for such a great cause, and we're just super grateful to be a part of it. Super excited to have Bob in town to introduce our guys to you. So, a little background on us. My wife and I got involved with the sport in St. Louis when the Tour of Missouri came to town, and we sponsored the race. We gave a motorcycle to Mark Cavendish, which was pretty cool.
Did he crash?
I had to deliver it. You want to talk about being nervous? We had to deliver it to Kansas City, and him and Alan Piper went out there, and they said, I had my bike there too, and said, can we take it for a spin? Renee actually was in the bathroom, and a lady gave her the business, said, if he crashes, it's on you guys. And so Mark said, I got a scooter. I know how to ride.
Famous last words, I've got a scooter.
This was a Buell 1125R. I mean, the thing's fast. And he hopped on that thing. I'm like, oh, God. We took off down the road, and they did just fine. So it was awesome. And I rode Marco Pinati on the back of my bike, which was first for me, and that was interesting, but it was fun. So the Tour of Missouri unfortunately went away, and we were in town, and I asked my wife, I said, hey, what do you think about, let's sponsor a team? I had started racing again, and there was a young kid in town, 15-year-old kid that showed some tremendous promise, and she's like, yeah, let's do it. So we're in the process of growing our own large family. We now have 7 children, and we look at our team as our extended children. And so we started it, this kid, Matt Pence, very small local team. Matt grew to a great national level Cat 1 rider, reached his potential, realized it, and decided he wanted to go fly jets for the Navy, which is what he's doing now, which is pretty awesome. And ever since then, the program has just grown and grown and grown. The first year, we were just hooked up with a local bike shop. The next year, my former teammate when I was a junior, Kevin Livingston, came on board, and he got Trek involved. And it has just skyrocketed since then. We've gone from a small little local team to, we've now graduated 8 kids to the professional ranks. Most recently, Seth Goose to Lotto Jumbo. He came from our program. So. We are constantly approached each year about turning pro. We're approached about joining forces with other teams. And myself, my wife Renee, Jim Schneider, Josh Favus, and everybody that runs the team, we have this discussion. We talked heavily with Trek about it this year, and Trek likes us where we're at. Our core value is we're a development team. We want to give these kids the platform like Pork was talking about to get them there. When I was a junior back in the late 80s, early 90s, Jim and a bunch of his friends were there for me. And so we want to keep passing this on. And the really neat thing is every year we keep attracting better and better riders. And it's such a joy when you see results are really secondary to our program. We like them, our sponsors like them. It helps get the guys on their pro teams, but really it's about growing character and growing good young men. That's what we try and do.
And I'd just like to attest to that character. We've gotten a chance over the last 3 days to spend time with this international group of wonderful young men. And they're a credit to Chris and his program. They're motivated, they're polite, they're professional. You've assembled a great team of human beings, and your support staff, your wife, coaches, everybody who puts time and energy into this, it's incredible. It really is incredible. So they have a fantastic group of young men that we're looking forward to introducing you to.
Thank you. And the bike that we're giving up for the raffle is actually one from Brian Gomez from last year that he rode to many wins, a whole bunch of 4th places that he got really, really mad about. But he now rides for the Holoesco Citadel team, and so he's made that jump, and you can look. We really believe in our hearts that we will see him in Paris-Roubaix someday. So it's really cool, and that was the bike that he did a bunch of that damage on. So hope you guys dig deep for the cause and enjoy it and go fast on that bike. It's a good time for sure. So yeah, it's a great program. We have a lot of fun. It's family oriented, and you'll get to meet him, and I'm super excited for you guys to meet them all. I'm very proud of them. We have hashtags that we use, so proud and hashtag take notice, and that's how we want everybody to take notice of the program, and we're super, super proud of them. So thanks for having us. So we've got it. Whoa, that's a little louder. So we've got 10 riders. Every year we've always wanted to be around 10. And Jim Schneider over here, who was, as I mentioned, he was my coach when I was a junior, and he helps direct the team now. He's the primary talent scout. We get resumes from all over the world. I say thanks for your interest. We forward them over to Jim. He screens them, narrows it down, interviews them, and then we go over the final list together. And he's an incredible judge of talent. So bringing up the first rider, let's bring on somebody. This guy, he came and guest rode for us at the end of the year last year.
raced one race at Gateway Cup for us, did amazing, and then became deathly ill that night, and we thought we were going to lose him on the lawn on the race on Monday afternoon, Labor Day weekend. But he made it back home to New Zealand, and he nursed himself back to health, and he's in great shape. So let's bring up Joel Yates from...
Joel, how's the jet lag? How far away is New Zealand? What time zone is that? What day is it? Like, it's a different day, right? I'm going to let you talk in a minute.
Yeah, well, so the time zone actually isn't that bad. We're like, I think back home it's where we are now. I think it's like we're 3 hours behind, but it's tomorrow. If that makes sense.
See?
Yeah, so it's not too bad. So I can like talk to everyone back home, and yeah, it's pretty simple.
So you had a chance to ride with the team last year, and you obviously enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really
Tell us about that, meeting the guys and then racing together.
Well, meeting the guys was really easy. Like, you'll see when they all come up, they're really, really nice guys, really easy to get along with. I was actually quite surprised. The first race I did with them, they sort of said, like, do you think, like, you could be our sprinter for today? And I was like, wow, like, I've never ridden for this team before. Like, yeah, I guess so. Like, I knew that I was kind of quick, so yeah. That was pretty cool, and I sort of paired up with Dennis, my Colombian teammate now, who you'll meet soon, and we kind of were going through the race, and I was like learning as I was going, so there's like all these big rally guys and UHC guys, and I was like, well, never ridden with these big dudes before. And then we sort of started to come into the last few laps, and then Dennis gave me the yell, and I was, like it was cool, just jumped on his wheel, and then our sort of plan was to launch kind of from the middle of the bunch and then in between Rally and UHC, because you can't really compete with those guys. They're so strong and like a long, like measured lead out. So we were going to jump on them and then do our best in the sprint, which we did really, really well right up until like literally the second to last corner. And I was with Dennis, lost Dennis, tried to get back to Dennis, and then lost him again, and then Dennis ended up third. So it was kind of a funny experience. I ended up 14th. It was kind of a funny experience. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and we had a laugh about it, and yeah, it was a really cool first race.
And was there any hesitation when they asked you to join full-time for this year?
No hesitation at all. It was like that whole race I was just waiting for Jim or Chris or Josh to take me aside and ask if I would join, and surely enough, the second day, I think it was the second day, yeah, Jim took me aside and said, like, would you like to be a part of the team? And straight away it was like, yes. And then when I was leaving, they said they would be in touch soon, and I think like the next day, I was like already messaging Chris, asking him what the plans were. Yeah, so, yeah, no hesitation at all.
It's great to have you on the squad. And what have you done so far this year, race-wise?
So I arrived the day before the Valley of the Sun race, just here in Phoenix, and it went really well. We had a lot of fun. I was probably a little bit too tired to go really well, but we all enjoyed it. We got along like straight away, which was really cool, really fun to see, especially with all the new guys, including myself coming into the team. So yeah, I mean, apart from that, I've just done team camp and here with all of you, so.
And talk about a little bit about the race program, coming a pretty heavy-duty schedule, starting with Joe Martin, Steve.
Yeah, so my individual race schedule is pretty full on. I'm doing Joe Martin, Tour of the Gila, and then Redlands as well. All three of those big races. So yeah, I should be pretty tired at the end of those couple months, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be cool getting into races with the guys.
And when you look at the race calendar, what's the ideal scenario for you this year? What would you take away this time next year to be satisfied from this year?
the most ideal scenario.
Yeah, the dream scenario. Like
Dream.
This is what I'm going to aspire to.
Well, the dream would be probably me just win everything. That's probably everyone's dream, but
realistically,
I'm being unrealistic like you.
See, it didn't turn out that well. You'll have to do TV for the rest of your life with alcoholic Brits.
You're all going to end up listening. Yeah. One day I'll be commentating at the Tour de France like Bob. No, realistically, I mean, I would probably like to see myself do well in the time trial at Joe Martin. It's like more of an uphill kind of short time trial. I'd really like to do well there. I mean, I just had a meeting with the staff actually just a couple of days ago, and they asked me to kind of like narrow down that goal, and I think possibly looking at the course a little bit more myself, maybe a top 10 or like a top 15 in that time trial would be pretty cool. And then the road stages there also suit me really well individually, but we'll be looking to support Reese probably in those races. And then again, probably the Redlands time trial. It suits me really, really well. I've got a club TT back in my hometown that's like maybe a little bit shorter and not as like physically demanding. It's quite rolling at Redlands, I hear. It would be nice to go well there because the time's kind of just what I'm good at.
And how about your favorite professional race on the professional calendar? One race you could do in your career, what would it be? What would be your favorite race?
Normally people would say like the Tour de France or Paris-Roubaix.
I wouldn't say that. I would not.
You wouldn't?
I would say the Giro.
You would say the Giro?
Giro, the food's a lot better.
I've had too many bad stories about the Giro. It's really rough weather-wise, right?
Can be rough, yeah.
Can be rough. I'd probably look more to a race like maybe the Vuelta. The Vuelta's always warm.
Great food.
Yeah, great food too. It's always free.
Good wine. Oh my God.
Good wine? Good. Okay, I'm sold. Sweet. Yeah, probably the Vuelta. I mean, the Tour and Roubaix would be really, really awesome to do, and we all dream of riding at the Tour de France, but the Vuelta would be really, really cool.
All right, well, best of luck in 2018 and beyond.
Thanks very much.
We'll stay south of the equator. Do you reckon?
I think we should.
Reese. Is Reese in the house? We have an Australian. Did not, I think it's his first year with the team. Didn't get to do any races. Reese Robinson from Australia. Are you guys on the same time zone as the Kiwis?
Yeah, yes. It's knocking me around. It's knocking me around. It's been nearly 2 weeks now, and slowly getting there.
Okay.
Slowly getting there. Big old adjustment.
It's like 17 hours, and it's generally 1 day per hour of time change. So you're almost there. 3 or 4 more days, and you'll be a local. You'll be a pioneer at that point.
Hopefully.
You have to change your accent a little bit.
I'm working on it.
Just kidding. Why are there so many great cyclists from Australia? It's incredible. How many? Richie Port, Cadell Evans, Caleb Ewan, Simon Gerrans, Rowan Dennis. The list is endless of great cyclists. Does everybody race bikes in Australia? Is that?
No, everyone plays rugby. Everyone plays rugby. I think those of us who aren't built for rugby maybe look for cycling or running. But yeah, it's a tremendous
If you're less than 225 pounds, probably.
Yeah, not big boned, break as soon as I get tackled. It happened too much when I was younger. All my friends watching.
I was going to ask you about that. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Absolutely. But no, there's a tremendous work ethic in Australia. A lot of good examples set, a lot of professionals coming out of there now. And yeah, it's fantastic to see a lot more of us get involved. So a lot of good people to follow.
Does it make it a little bit easier to find a way into the upper echelons of the sport?
Most definitely, especially growing up watching like a Robbie McEwen, now Richie Port, previously Cadell Evans. It can be done, and it's inspiring. So yeah, definitely.
Have you raced yet with the team
Yeah, I did Valley of the Sun as well, and
take us through those stages. You must have been deep in the jet lag with that a few days ago.
Yeah, so I hadn't ridden my bike in like nearly a week because getting over here, collect my bike when I get here and race, and we go straight out to Black Eye, and the team provided me with a time trial bike. I'm really grateful for, by the way, but it did not suit me at all. The cranks were super long, the bike was long, the bike was tall, and I went horrible. And my knees hurt, my head hurt, and I was like, guys, please don't judge me off that. That was absolutely horrible. The second day, bit of a hill in it. I helped the other guys as well. And finally come the criterion, but settled into something I was used to, and I was about 20 metres away from winning, which would have been a dream, just to really show them I'm not useless, but no, it was a great start.
That's my dream too. I keep dreaming.
It was a great start. We all got along well, obviously, before then, but it gave us a lot of confidence 3 days in, so it was pretty important.
Tell me how you came to be on the team. That's a good story, I understand.
Yeah, so I was here last year, racing a few races in the Midwest, and I love it so much, so I'll try and get back over here. And I sent a few resumes out. I remember a friend of mine back home raced with Gateway in the opening year, and he told me about it when I was 15 years old. And I thought, hang on, I better ask him and see what his opinion is on it, and go back home and have a beer with him at the pub. And shortly after, Jim and Chris got in contact with me. We set up an interview and had a talk. So that was really awesome how that worked out.
And some of the races that you're good at are a big part of the calendar in North America. Any races you're looking forward to sinking your teeth into in the near future?
Yeah, anything that finishes in a sprint in the PRT is definitely what I'm looking at. I can't really avoid that. It suits my skill set. Obviously, I enjoy it. If it's not finishing in a sprint, I'm more than happy to help the guys. As long as one of us does well, succeeds, I'm happy. So all of the above.
Joe Martin?
Definitely first up. Redland second up, and later on a North Star, and then Criterium's in and around there. But still excited for everyone else at the same time in their stages that suit them.
And any particular pro races you'd like to excel at in the future? What's your favorite? What would be your dream scenario as a?
Well, in Australia, growing up, the only race I'll show is the Tour de France. So obviously, I watched a lot of that. That's the most ideal dream. But if not, the Tour of Flanders is by far the most entertaining race to watch. So either of those, I'll be happy with for sure.
Did Phil Anderson lose by a whisker one time?
He did.
Is he the closest Australian, or have you guys had a win in that yet? We haven't, except in the women's. Corn Rivera.
I don't think we have had a win yet. He's probably the closest.
Yeah.
Matt Heyman winning Paris-Roubaix is probably as close as we've gone.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was pretty awesome. So
he tried 16 times. I quit at 14. I was a slacker. Don't tell him I said that.
No, that's and another great role model to follow back home. So that was awesome to watch.
Absolutely. Reese, thank you very much, and best of luck in 2018.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So what do you fancy next?
Maybe some Americans.
Some Americans? What do we think, Jim? Which American should we...
Matt Zimmer?
A man from Iowa?
Is Matt Zimmer in the house? From Iowa? Matt Zimmer, ladies and gentlemen.
How's it going?
Matt and I have a little bit of history. One of the persons that got him interested in racing bikes was a teammate of mine, Jeff Bradley from Davenport, Iowa. Did Jeff have any bobkey stories? He is pretty circumspect with gossip, but...
I think I got a good one. So, you guys were roommates at the tour one year, right?
Yes, yeah.
And you got sick, and he said you could hawk a loogie on the ceiling and get it to dangle. So you were so sick.
You might have exaggerated.
And then you got him sick.
It was very low ceilings, and
he didn't mention that, so. But yeah, that's the honest truth. That's
why did I ask that? What's wrong?
The curveball.
That means you don't have to be as nice now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
gloves are off.
He's drawing first blood.
That's the only story I've got. I would have kept it tamer, but
I have some Jeff Bradley stories, but we're going to leave those out. There's people underage here. So. But you started out in the triathlon?
Yeah, my whole family, they're at a local tri, there'd be like 18 of us. Even my grandpa and my great uncle, who we stayed with last year, he's 84 and he rides. And so I have a pretty active family, and I'm not a very good runner. And I'm too short to be a good swimmer, so I kind of just switched to biking and met Jeff through the local shop and went on some group rides, and here I am like 9 years later.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
And Jeff is a great guy, and I'm so happy
he's a good mentor,
that you guys cross paths.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still work for him when I'm home every once in a while. So.
All right. Tell him I said hello.
Yeah, he's kind of.
And no more loogie, no more barbecue stories.
Yeah.
Only the good ones. I don't.
You're not gonna get invited back here next year for a team launch.
I run, but only if the police are chasing me. So
there you go.
I'm not a good runner either. But the bike is the best part of the triathlon anyway. Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
So you were the top amateur in Redlands last year?
Yep, last year.
That's fantastic. That's awesome.
It was a bit of a shock. It wasn't really a race on my radar. I didn't think it suited me that well, and went to Joe Martin, and I was obviously working for Brian, whose bike's right there, and I made the break a bunch of days and just ran into the ground over and over every day. And coming around to Redlands, I guess my form, I had recovered enough, and going in the last day, I saw I was in contention for going for the best amateur jersey, and there was like 25 seconds separating 5 of us, and it was sleeting and hailing, and it was the most epic conditions you could have asked for in California, and I ended up getting it by 1 second, so it was wild.
Is that the sunset?
Yeah, the infamous sunset loop, probably one of the hardest.
That's like the hardest circuit race in North America.
Yeah, and it's at the end of a 5-day race to top it off, so
awesome.
It was brutal.
So you must be looking forward to Redlands.
Yeah, it's definitely my number one race I'm looking forward to doing. Looking back, I can see areas I can improve and change to be higher up GC, so that's definitely my prime target. So.
And where's the winter training taking you so far this season?
Being from Iowa, it's not as exotic as New Zealand or Australia, so I know it sounds that way, but it's not. And when I left my house, I've actually been in Tucson the last 2 months, and when I left, it was with the windshield, it was negative 48 when I got in my car. My car wouldn't start because the battery was ruined from the cold, and so I've been in Tucson the last 2 months, and it's been awesome. So this is their winter, I guess, now that it's 55 out and people are bundled up freaking out. So
they got their
grocery
down
stores
coats
are
on.
being ransacked. Yeah.
I saw some Cossacks with the big fur hats with the wool.
Yeah, so it's been awesome. I'm excited to get back to racing full time, and training's fun, but it's fun being on the road with the team. And whenever team camp ends, you like slip into a little depression. You're like, oh man, it's back to eating just oatmeal and rice and riding by myself now.
What's some of the other objectives you have this year?
I really want to help. I think we have some good climbers to target some of the stages at Gila, so I'm really looking forward to sitting on the front, being a pony for those guys. So that's definitely a goal.
What about a pro race that you would aspire to doing eventually? Favorite pro race?
I would say any one-day classic. I like the tough man
Liège, Bastogne, Liège, maybe?
Yes, that'd be awesome.
That's a good one.
Yeah, hopefully one day I'll be there. So.
Valverde will still be racing, so.
He will be. Still be crushing it.
Well, thank you very much, and best of luck in 2018.
Now, Bob, you raced in the era of some of the great Colombian riders.
Oh, yeah.
So, Lucio Herrera,
Fabio
Parra.
Parra.
Yeah.
Alvaro Mejia.
We're bringing back some good names now. We're dating ourselves.
Do you remember Argimiro El Polaco Boaorques?
Are you sure he wasn't one of those Nacho Libre fighter guys, no?
No, he was the top climber.
Top climber?
Yeah.
I think we should bring Dennis up next. I think we should bring in the Colombian and see what we got.
Absolutely. Dennis, welcome. What's the time change to Colombia? Iowa's an hour, right? Depending on...
It's 2 hours right now.
Just 2 hours?
American...
You don't have the daylight savings time?
No, we don't.
You just keep the
Isn't
same?
that a U.S. thing?
Some parts of Western Europe. But Arizona, is Arizona? No. Why not? Why don't?
We don't like it. It's too confusing. We're cool with real time.
Do you guys have fluoride in the water? Do you have any other conspiracy? We love the climate. That's why we come down to it. What we were mentioning, I race against some of the like real heroes of professional sport in Colombia. And then, I mean, I don't know if people are familiar with a pretty long civil war in Colombia that made it very difficult to race and train and have the resources to be a professional cyclist. But in the last 10 years, we have a new generation of riders that are absolutely phenomenal. Fernando Gaviria, Esteban Chavez, and who's heard of Nairo Quintana? Anybody heard of Nairo Quintana? Dennis, can you tell us what magnitude of star Quintana Nairo is in Colombia, and to give us an idea of how popular the sport is in Colombia?
So, like you just said, the war just ended in Colombia, so now all of a sudden you can go all these places that you couldn't go. People from these places are getting to know these cyclists because all the races are going to these places. So, a few weeks ago, the most important race just finished in Colombia. It had some of the biggest stars in the world, and all the Colombian cyclists were there, of course, and
the Ori Paz race, right?
The Ori Paz race.
Gold and peace.
It's just incredible. I was there watching and obviously supporting some of my fellow teammates and training buddies, and Brian Gomez was there for an example. And it was a lot of the European racers, the Colombian racers were comparing the fans with any Tour de France they've ridden. So that's the magnitude of the fans in Colombia and how much they look up to these cyclists.
And I heard that Nairo has a police detail that he has to have to wade through the crowds of people so he can get to the start and the sign on it.
So a funny story was when Rigoberto Urán won the third stage, I think, fourth stage. All these races finished in the main square, right? And they had to escort Rigo into the town hall because nobody would let him through the crowds. So it's just exaggerated how much people look up to these stars and how much they're in the media now, how much, TV time they get, and how the inspiration they are to everybody.
And it's really amazing how many great cyclists come from Colombia. Now I think every single Pro Tour team has 1, 2, or 3 Colombian riders on that.
The average, I think, is over 1 per team. But yeah, it's just growing up in Colombia and having to race with all these guys and seeing them step on to go to Europe and do good, and some of them don't, some of them do, but it's just incredible to think that, 6 and 7, like even less, I was just racing toe-to-toes with these guys, and now they're racing for Team Sky or Katusha or, all this Astana, so it's just, and it also fuels me to try to get to that point,
You're on the team last year. Take us through some of the highlights from 2017.
I'm the big brother of the team. I'm starting my 5th year on the team. So I've seen basically all the progress of all the riders that have moved on from the team. And yeah, we've had several highlights. Probably the biggest are, Sepp Kuss's famous Redland stage win, along with Brian's sprints competition in that same race. And we had national championship time trial for George, and last year we got podium in North Star, which is a big, we got our first UCI podium with Brian, so it's just been really excited and really humbling to see how the team has grown over the years.
And you will have a similar schedule coming up with Joe Martin and Gila and Redlands?
Right. I basically do almost the whole calendar. I know all these races. I've been through all these races several times, so I'm excited to see what we can achieve this year. And with all the support and all the upgrades we've had, I definitely think we're just going to go out there and be even more motivated this year.
And same question to the other guys. Do you have a pro race that you dream about doing someday?
I really like the classics. Maybe the one that kind of highlights the most would be Lombardia in Italy.
That one is hard.
The World Championships are...
Lombardia is so hard. Why not Perry Tours, man? That's like dead flat.
You just get more achievement than if you win something that's harder.
That's a good point. I tried Lombardia. I did 8 times. I only finished 1 time. It's like a mountain stage. That, like at the end of the year, like October. That's a lofty.
I seem to be rolling good towards the end of the year, so maybe that would actually be a good race for myself.
Absolutely. God, who can I call?
It's a pretty race too.
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous, right?
Yeah,
So.
it's stunning. Esteban Chavez won that a couple years ago, right?
He has won
First
it.
Colombian winner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just 2 years ago.
Even of a cyclist, of a classic, of a monument.
Oh,
I
right.
recall.
Yeah.
I think he's the first cyclist to ever win a monument. So.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, good luck in 2018. Give them hell.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Dennis Ramirez, everybody.
Okay, Bob, who do you fancy now?
How about Sean?
I think Sean the gardener.
He's the gardener. There's many gardeners, but
Yes.
Sean is the gardener.
On social media, Sean the gardener.
Sean Gardner. Sean, welcome.
Thank you.
You're from Ohio?
I'm from Virginia.
Virginia?
Yeah.
That's right next to Ohio, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Close
from
enough.
California, so...
Yeah, closer than California.
Anything east of Reno is a mystery.
Yeah, it's all east of that.
Virginia, sorry. How did you come to be on the Gateway Harley Davidson team?
Yeah, so I got into cycling in college, and then got on a local club team when I was in college, and then sent out the resume to a few teams, and I was lucky enough to get on this team last year. So this is my second year with the team. So, yeah.
Were you involved in some of the big results that the team had last year?
Yeah, I was not really any individual results, but I was a pony for the.
That's
Ryan
what I mean.
Gomez's and, yeah.
Doing the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I claim a lot of the team victories from 7-Eleven, so feel free.
Yeah, I'll claim them. Yeah,
claim them. Appropriate those.
Yeah, there you go.
Whenever I'm in Italy, I say we won the Giro, and the Italians are like, well, "Who's we?" I'm like, yeah, my teammates actually. So you don't have to do that, but if you want,
I'll claim them. Yeah.
Have you started racing this year?
Yeah, Valley of the Sun was our first race. So
how did that one go?
Yeah, it's definitely the first race of the season. So got to get the legs going. It's a little wake up call, but yeah.
Were you back in Virginia training over the winter?
I was actually in Tucson with Matt.
Okay.
So yeah, awesome. It was nice and warm there, like mid 80s. It's kind of winter now, but yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Have you just gone through the bike fit recently with Porcure at the facilities, and how was that?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, the technology they have here, outstanding. And
let me ask, how close was your position to the official position where it should have been? Mine, I'm afraid to do one because I'm afraid my whole career will go up in smoke.
Oh, yeah. Well, so
Pork will his head will explode.
It's not the first time I've made my head explode.
They had a before and after shot of me. I think it's back in that room, but I look like a completely different rider. Like, my teammates won't recognize me anymore. I look like a different person, but yeah, it's super comfortable. Like, I never thought I had bike fit problems, but now I'm even more comfortable now. And I did what we were not supposed to do, but the day after the fit, I made the ultimate test of a 6-hour ride, and I felt great. So
nice.
You can do 6-hour rides with no pain.
So Bob, I have a confession to make.
Okay.
Yeah, there's more than one of us that make people fast here. So I can't even take responsibility for this awesomeness. So Barry Anderson is our rock star fitter. How many people in here have had a bike fit from Barry? Yeah, see? So we've multiplied. Barry, are you hiding back there somewhere? Oh, okay.
He's vanished. He's fitting people.
Yes. He's out there selling sand to the Arabs, so that's okay.
Never mind.
That's it.
What does your scheduling look like for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, first big race will be like Gila. I think climbs usually suit.
Have you done those before?
Yeah, last year was my first year doing them. Yeah. There's some big climbs.
They still have the monster.
Yeah,
or the
they
beast?
do have
What do
the
they call
monster, Gila monster.
Gila monster.
Yeah.
Who's done the Gila monster? Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a big climb.
Did you take your time? Did you get your Strava going on the?
I actually did not finish that stage last year. I ran into a motorcycle.
You were smart.
But, yeah.
Fast and smart.
Yeah, there you go.
Gila's grim, but good luck in that. And then Redlands after that?
Yep, that one.
What are some of the big objectives you have personally for this season?
Gila and Redlands, I think, suit me well, so we'll see what I can do there.
Have you been training like a banshee, like a fiend?
Yeah.
To get ready for that? Those are coming right up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, down Mount Lemmon in Tucson. It's a big climb, so going up and down.
Do you do your intervals?
Yeah, head to the...
And you see half the peloton when you're...
Yeah, there you go. There's a lot of professional riders that live there.
That's awesome.
Go up, cookie cabin, have some cookies, come back down.
Have some cookies.
You gotta, refuel after the ride.
If I went there for cookies, there wouldn't be no cookies left for anybody else. You better get there early.
Yeah, there you go.
If I'm in town. How about a pro race that you dream about doing eventually?
I'd love to do Tour de Suisse. It's a little low-key race, but...
We won that too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in Switzerland until the Swiss people.
We did. Yeah, it seems like a beautiful race.
It's a gorgeous race. It's really hard though.
Yeah.
It's like all mountains.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
It's all the Tour de France mountains, but in 1 week.
There you go.
You don't have any of the flat stages. I'm like, who invented this stupid stage race?
And it's almost as expensive to live in San Francisco.
True. San Francisco is a little bit more expensive now than Switzerland. The coffee is cheaper in Switzerland, though, so that's a good.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a great race. If you need some recommendations, let me know.
Oh, definitely.
Did you listen to my coverage of it the last couple of years on?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
How did it sound?
Pretty good.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. I will say this.
There's only one answer to that.
There's only. I know I lived in Switzerland when I was racing and training over there. So I like every road. I know it's around each corner, and when a guy starts looking shaky, I'm like, oh, the next kilometer is gonna hurt. And Paul Sherman was like, right, Robert, stop talking. It's my turn to speak. I'm like, if you would let me say something, people might learn a little bit. Just kidding. Don't tell Paul I said that. But best of luck this year, and give him hell.
Thank you.
So, I think we need to bring Evan up here next. I think he should be an entertaining one. Here we go.
Oh, he's already signed back here.
Are you sighing, Evan? Help me with your pronunciation. Bausbacher?
Oh, Bausbacher.
Bausbacher. Are you from... It says you're from Texas, but it sounds like you're from Deutschland.
Yes, that's where my relatives are from. So.
Really? Do you know what part of...
I do not.
Not East Berlin, huh?
I don't know.
Well, tell us about how you came to be on the Gateway Holiday squad.
So after last season, I got back from Belgium actually, and was in some pretty good form and had some local races and was starting to look for where I wanted to head next, and sent out my resume to some teams and wasn't really having much luck, and then realized that development programs were definitely the way to go, and sure enough was able to land a spot on this team, so really excited about that.
If I'm not mistaken, you went to Belgium sort of on your own.
I did. Just went with one of my buddies, and we were there for. Like,
Is that a good idea in general?
It was a great idea. We had a great time. We were staying in Oudenaarde. It's actually where the Tour of Flanders finishes.
On the Schelde?
Yes.
How many times did you do the Schelde?
Scheldepelle?
Scheldepelle bike. There's a bike path on this canal, and the legend has it if you dip a roll of film into the canal, it will develop. So in the summertime, it gets. Did you ever notice that how ripe the Schelde can be?
I did. Yes. I rode it actually quite a bit because we were commuting to races. We didn't have a car, so we were taking trains, commuting around, and it was a lot of riding, but it was really great. And the races over there were just really, really fun, really hard.
Really intense. Where did you live?
I lived in a little house that an American has out there. His name's Greg Germer. He runs this house called the Chainstay for cyclists from all over to stay and race and kind of get that Belgium experience. And then
is it next to the chain smoker house for the Belgian? Just kidding.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: when you go to sign on, and you go to the cafe, is everyone still smoking?
Oh yes, it's at 8 in the morning or just whenever. They're all smoking and drinking.
Why do they
beer.
smoke so much?
I really don't know. Yeah. All the packages have labels that warn them about their health.
They don't have the Surgeon General over there, maybe. Yeah. They don't have the...
It's intense.
Yeah. Did you start racing when you came back from Belgium?
No.
You haven't raced yet?
Oh, yes, I have, yes.
That's what I meant.
Oh, yeah.
Did you notice a big difference between...
For sure. You notice just small things like you see breaks happening and forming, and you kind of have a really good sense of how the race is developing. And you see things a lot clearer, and I definitely felt a lot stronger when I came back and was able to do pretty well in the local races in Texas, so that was fun.
Do you ever see any of the famous cyclists pedaling around? You're from Austin, or you live in Austin?
I live in Austin. I go to school at University of Texas. Okay. So yeah, I got to ride a lot with Lawson Craddock and Nick Brown this winter, so a lot of fun.
What was that like?
Oh, it was great. There was one day we had a full camera crew and doing a big video, and there was a lot of good riding. They're really cool guys.
Did you sprint Lawson in front of the cameras for the city limit?
I did not.
I would never do that.
They had like a 3-hour interval, so we just kind of suffering on the back.
And take us through your schedule for the upcoming races.
So just looking forward to doing some of these stage races. Not really sure which one's going to head to, but hoping to really help out the team and do what I can with the opportunities I'm given and make the most of it.
And how about a pro race that you aspire to doing eventually at some point?
I mean, after doing all the climbs in Belgium, the Tour of Flanders probably the most exciting, or something really long like Milan-San Remo. I like those long rides.
I like that. Milan-San Remo is much better than Lombardia.
Yeah.
That's good thinking. But Flanders, that can't be fun though. Think about it.
I really enjoyed the cobbles. It was an interesting experience.
Yeah, interesting.
Bumpy.
How about, like, you come from over here, you go over there to race, and you're just on a 4-lane highway, and you're going, like, piano, 10 miles an hour, and then suddenly it's lined out in the gutter, you're going 800 miles, you're like, what the? And then you turn onto a bike, and then, boom, cobbled climb. That's the story of the Tour of Flanders, time like 35.
For sure.
You must be a glutton for punishment, Evan. Gee. No, it's a great race. It's like the greatest one-day race in the world. What's the ambience like in Belgium when the people are at a bike race? It's
amazing. Even just the local races in a random town, you'd have hundreds and hundreds of people out there like betting on races and just having tons of fun out there. Every single day there's a race out there in the summer.
And a lot of smokers.
Yes.
Did you ever go to the brat stand, the hot dog stand afterwards with the French?
You got to get your protein after every ride.
You got the morale. We would have gotten docked money if we were seen at the Frites stand with getting.
Frites were after big weeks.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Any plans to race in Belgium this year, or?
We'll see. Whatever the team's hoping to do. So. If the opportunity's there, I'd love to go back and see how it goes.
Well, Evan, best of luck in 2018. Give them hell.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have any Belgian cuss words you can leave us with? A Belgian cuss word that, like...
Not really. I just got yelled at all the time, like, go.
Well,
left.
you don't. It's hard to learn Flemish because everybody speaks English over there.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're always yelling.
Oh my yoga. Did you ever hear that one? I maybe speak more curse words because people were cussing at me my whole career.
True.
The whole time I was there, I learned all of it. So
that's pretty much all you get.
You're ahead of the game.
That's right.
Best of luck in 2018.
I appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to bring Daniel out next. Is he hiding back there somewhere? Here we go. He looks nervous.
Daniel, welcome. Are you nervous?
Yeah.
It's all adulation. You got to get used to that one.
Yeah. I welcome the nervousness.
It's like just before a bike race, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me ask you about the ambience on the team. How long you've been on the team, and how do you find it racing with the guys that are on the squad?
I'm a new guy. This is the first season, and the ambience is awesome. We clicked really well at BOS, and
Valley of the Sun.
Yeah, Valley of the Sun, and
was it sunny?
It was, but it wasn't that warm. Like it was a little chilly, but it was an awesome race, and everyone got together really well, and the teamwork was flawless. So, yeah, great group of guys.
And what's the next race on your schedule?
I think I'm planning on going to Louisiana and doing the Rouge Roubaix.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I like the suffering and the
Oh my
mud
God.
and gravel.
Where did you find these people? That race is hard. It's like all dirt, like 100.
I love it. And our Trek bikes have awesome disc brakes and stuff like that now. So
yeah, I was going to ask you about the new bikes. You guys are going all discs for the year, right?
They're awesome. Yeah, they're really smooth bikes.
And the braking is phenomenal.
Ridiculous.
How are you going to plow into the people in front of you? That was the best part of my day. Like, whoops, blammo. Just kidding.
I never had that desire.
No. They hated me. They didn't like me. So don't be like that. That's a really fun race. They asked me to do it, so I'm like, oh, that sounds like. And then I started looking into it. Like, I'm like, no way.
Yeah, it's like 100 plus miles of all dirt and gravel and.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right. How are you going to train up for that? Besides having a fantastic bike and fat tires.
Follow my coach's orders.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
and
right.
Continue enjoying racing.
And what about after that, or the other parts of your schedule for this year?
I would really like to do Hilo. That's a big goal. I haven't done it ever. I've done Joe Martin once, and that was a lot of fun. So Hilo and Joe Martin, that would be ideal.
And how did the team invite you to race with them? How did you just send them your resume, or?
Yeah, and I was really persistent. And I.
You kept bugging them.
Yeah.
I kept crashing the guys on 7-Eleven, and they're like, if he's on our team, maybe he won't crash us so much.
I did the opposite. I offered to help.
You're going to have a much better future, much brighter future. You're doing the right thing. What about a pro race that you dream about doing someday?
Maybe the Giro.
Giro's fantastic.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the food's really good there.
Insane.
Yeah.
You need to eat a little bit more of it, though, it seems.
I've been eating so well at Team Camp. Like, shout out to the cooks at Team Camp. They do an awesome
Who are
job.
the cooks? Let's give them a shout out. Are they here?
Reed and
Reed?
Where's Renee and Cheryl.
Renee and Cheryl and Reed, nice.
They've been hanging out at the ballpark. I've eaten so much. It doesn't show, but I've eaten so much this Team Camp.
Well, the more you eat, the more miles you can do.
Yes.
Right? That's I can do so many miles right. Who are some of your favorite pros to watch racing these days?
I really like Alberto Contador. I actually had a conversation with a teammate today, and they said that I climb like Alberto. sway. So, yeah.
Would you like to hear Phil Liggett say that you're dancing on the pedals?
I would love that.
Yeah,
that's my dream.
I'm going to pay him to say that about me. And a bottle of wine, and that's been my dream too.
There's nothing wrong with dancing on the pedals.
No, you got to dance on the pedals. Well, Daniel, best of luck in 2018, and we'll be following your results. And be careful in Rouge-Roubaix, down in Louisiana. There's alligators, by the way. So
I'll stay away from that.
Yeah, stay away from the alligators.
Okay, next rider we're going to bring up is Scott, if he's hiding back there somewhere. Now, Scott, when they start clapping ahead of time, is that a sign of something to come?
Great to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Scott McGill, 19, one of the younger riders on the team. Yep. How did you come to be on the squad? Were you just phenomenal in your area and
I think
recruited?
I just messaged Chris on Facebook, and then
that must have been a great message.
And then he asked me to send him my resume, so then I made a resume and sent it to him.
Did you say you had won the Giro with your team?
No, I don't think I lied on it, but maybe.
Oh, good. So is this your first year with this be your first year?
Yeah, so I raced for like Evan. I raced in Belgium last year, but I raced for a Belgian team.
Which one?
It was called Doma Dakwerken. It
Nice.
means like roof work or something.
Wow. A roofing company.
Yeah, a roofing company.
Everyone sponsors the bike team in Belgium. That's the dream. Like you save your first $20,000 and you become a sponsor of a bike team. That's the business model in Belgium.
Yeah, they definitely love it. A lot more than here, that's for sure.
And how did you find the racing over there?
It taught me how to suffer, I'll say that. It was really hard, but it was definitely a learning experience.
And a lot of cobbled streets, obviously?
Yeah.
What's the position battle, the battle for position going into a cobbled street? Like, how intense is that?
Given that I was at the back normally, it was very intense.
Me too.
Just trying not to get dropped or crash, or both.
It's like bodies everywhere. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, it's very intense.
And did you feel like the longer you were there, the better at those strategic moments that you became? Do you feel like you developed as the racing went along and you learned more about it? And
Yeah, you definitely get to know which riders to follow and which teams to follow. So if, like Lotto Soudal under 23, for example, if they went to the front, then you had to go to the front, or you were going to be out of the race very soon.
I remember those. I remember when the big teams would get to the front, and you would see them like one by one, like, and you're like, you start to get nervous. The whole field starts to ramp up. Oh, man. I didn't know it was going to be this intense part with these kids. This is great.
We try to like get your level of ferocity in the riders too.
No, we don't want that. Mine was misdirected, wildly unguided. Just focus on that moment, and then the rest of the time, chill out. That's all you got to do.
Bob, are you having some flashbacks too?
A few, yeah. It's true what you're saying. Like the strong riders start moving up, and you could be in the middle of a 4-lane highway, and then you turn off into a goat path, and the speed is just incredible. Have you noticed a difference from the racing, how you race from after you came back, from before you went to Belgium, racing back in the States?
Well, I haven't done a big race in the States ever. So last year was my first year as under 23. So I only did a few races.
Straight to Belgium?
Yeah.
That's worse than what my story is. At least I was in Italy where the food was good. It was a reason.
Yeah, I was cooking for myself in Belgium, so no good food there.
What were your teammates like in that?
I lived with 3 Brits and a Kiwi, so they all spoke English.
Yes, that's good.
The rest of them, the team manager spoke not a word of English, just smoked cigarettes the whole time. If he went up a set of stairs, he turned purple. He was that out of shape. And then, so some of my teammates spoke English and some of them didn't, but they were some of them were students, some of them worked. So it was an amateur team, so it wasn't professional.
That's so awesome. Well, that's a good way to start. That's deep in the dyed in the wool. I mean, that's as real as it gets in cycling. And when you see a guy like Tom Bonin, or Philippe Gilbert or Greg Van Avermaet, you know his development process. Does that give you an appreciation for watching the pro races?
Yeah, I knew I was in the right place to be in Belgium, and that's where you really have to go to, turn professional very fast. So it was definitely a learning experience, but I joined Gateway because, one, I can go to school, and they have a phenomenal program in the U.S., so it's been really good so far.
And what pro race are you have some aspirations of doing?
The Ronde van Vlaanderen pre-2011. So when they finished the Mur and the Bosberg, which is basically Omloop at Nieuwsblad this year. So
the Bosberg and then into the finish town.
Yeah, I did a race up the Bosberg this year, and I crashed on the Bosberg, so I have some redemption.
Going down or up?
Up.
Oh, man. How did you manage that?
I really don't know. It was... I don't know.
The Tour of Flanders used to do like a circuit that's almost impossible to memorize. You need to do it 4 or 5 times, and they've changed that now. That there's a circuit with the Haute Quaremont, right, in the finale.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, they do have like these little signs on the road, so like tourists can go and ride the whole route of the Tour of Flanders. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an incredible ambience. So hopefully you bring some of that passion to the team this year. What races are you looking forward to doing?
I'm going to start off with Joe Martin and see how that goes, and then go from there. I haven't done any big races, so I really just want to learn how to ride the races here, and learn what they're about.
And hurt some people.
Yeah, hopefully.
And shear off the front and annihilate them.
Yeah, I'll do my best, but
and stay away from the French fries and the beer stand,
yeah.
Which is easy, and the smokers, like you just don't have them.
Yeah, no smokers.
All right, and your sports directors speak English, so
that's one of the key components.
Best of luck in 2018.
So the next rider we're going to invite to the podium is Brett. Is he hanging out back there somewhere?
I'm gonna go Wachtendorf, and you'll tell me how bad I annihilated that.
You actually got it.
Wow! Oh my God! Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Have you heard some of your teammates be grilled, or are you guys talking amongst yourselves in the back?
Yeah, we're chatting amongst ourselves, but we've heard them all. So.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
How's it going so far for them? What's the report?
Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wondering. How did you come to be on the team?
I actually did not send the team a resume. So it was earlier in the year, in 2017, I was at a race by myself. I was riding for a Canadian team. It was in Alabama. And
what did the Canadians think about Alabama? Did they just like...
Well...
Or it might be a lot like Quebec, I don't know.
I mean, kind of.
Too much knowledge. Keep going. You're in Alabama with a bunch of Canadians.
At the Fort McClellan road race, and I was there by myself. Gateway Harley Davidson was there, the full team. I ended up finishing 6th on the day. I'm on Instagram a week later, and I see this notification, and I'm like, what is this? I don't know. So I click on it, and it's Gateway asking me, hey, are you racing toward Gila, Redlands? And I say, no, I'm not. I'm on a small Canadian team. They're not headed down that way.
They got lost in Alabama.
Yeah.
They're in jail.
And next thing I know, I'm working out details to get to both the races. I ended up not getting to Gila. It was just too much of a turnaround too quickly. So I ended up in Redlands with them. The team treated me like family, and next thing I know, I'm joining them at the end of June, and they wanted me back again this year. So, yeah, that was it.
What were some of the other highlights from 2017?
Well, definitely the going to Pro Nationals. That was awesome. Having that opportunity to race as a professional with an amateur team was really cool. And then doing amateur nationals actually the next weekend We rode well in the road race, but things didn't quite unfold at the end. But we had, George Simpson with the TT jersey, so that was awesome. And then definitely later in the year, probably doing some of the more local races, just really getting to know the guys and traveling in the van and just kind of building that team chemistry for sure.
Who plays the music? And the most critical rider is the DJ in the van. Who's the music guy for you guys?
It depends on who's driving.
The driver gets to decide?
Yeah, the driver's usually the one.
That's a good rule. I was always in charge of the music.
We have XM radio, so we've got a lot of channels.
You said a couple of things, Instagram and XM radio.
Yeah, so you're right. I should probably get...
I might be the only person that does that. So carry on. So you're in the van with the guys for the majority of the end of last season, and it was...
Yeah, so, you just get to know them through pretty much those random scenarios you can imagine. Traveling across the country, we drove from... I live in Boulder, Colorado right now.
Is that where you grew up?
No, I actually grew up in Pennsylvania.
Ah.
Yeah, so Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Well, New Hope.
New Hope.
Yeah. But yeah, we drove...
Is that in the Amish country?
It is not.
Oh.
Yeah, it's almost New Jersey.
Okay.
But not quite. I do have friends who make fun of me for being from New Jersey. Hopefully no one's from New Jersey here. But yeah, so just driving with the team and, hanging out with them and being in all these host houses, just you get to know the guys really, really well. And as far as the music goes, anything from reggaeton to rap to EDM to talk shows can be anything. Right?
I've heard of rap.
Yeah.
That's cute. And what did you do for the winter for training? Where were you stationed during the winter?
So I've been all over. I actually finished the season in Rwanda. I was at the Tour of Rwanda.
I hear that the crowds there are just
It's incredible.
insane.
So Rwanda is the size of Maryland, and you have 8 million people who live there. So,
and all of them are at the Tour of Rwanda.
All of them. All of them. It's crazy.
It's the craziest.
I've never seen fans 20 people deep going up a
that's
cobble
so
climb.
cool.
It's just, it's...
And a really hard race, right?
Yeah, it's really hard. It's at altitude, so that doesn't help. But yeah, it's just, land of 1,000 hills for sure. You're always climbing. It's either up or down. There's no flat. But yeah, the fans there, it's a growing sport very rapidly there, and everyone supports it. It's really incredible. So yeah, I finished my season there, and then I had a week and a half off, and actually traveled all the way from Rwanda to San Diego. My girlfriend's finishing up physical therapy school, so she was there for an internship. Spent some time there, and then I was in Boulder for 2 weeks before coming here. And
How's the jet lag?
Well, the first few days it was pretty terrible.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah, it was 50 hours of travel from Kigali all the way to San Diego. So.
That's 4 days.
It was I slept in 2 airports, and wouldn't do it again.
Never. And so what's your next race? What's next for you on the calendar?
Well, I'll do a few local races, but the next big event is Tour de Gila. I'm a climber, so no better place than there. And the altitude in Boulder will help there as well. And then after Gila, we'll head to Redlands and hopefully get some results at Redlands. So.
And do you have any pro races that you dream about doing someday?
I'm not a huge fan of gravel, but I really like watching the Strada Bianchi.
Oh yeah, nice one.
I think it's an amazing race. It's rolling terrain, and I've done well in races that are with the punchy climbs, especially at the end. They finish in the I guess plaza.
The Piazza.
Yeah, Piazza. Okay, getting my Spanish mixed up with that, but
the Plaza.
Yeah, Plaza. Yeah. But yeah, Strada Bianchi would be a pretty awesome race.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck in 2018.
And
Gila and Redlands, good luck.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So folks, last but not least by any manner, we have Spencer.
Spencer Downey. Spencer, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How's your winter been? Have you been in Boulder? Is that where you grew up in Boulder, Colorado?
Yeah, born and raised in Boulder.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a rough winter for sure. It's not an ideal place to be training, but luckily I'm in the South now for a while, so
Oh, good.
I'll be down either in Tucson or maybe Southern California for the next month or so. So hopefully I can dodge some snow.
You've come to a better part of the country for doing that. So if there's some snow down here, guys, let me know beforehand, and I'll try to get the next flight out. SoCal also, you should be pretty safe. Boulder, in my day, was a real mecca for cycling. A lot of the famous cyclists lived there and trained there. Is there still a big culture and cycling culture in Boulder, Colorado?
Oh yeah, it's massive. Like, I think there's probably 10, 15 world tour guys that are in and out year round. So you're just out on the roads and you see like Taylor Phinney, Alex Howes, Lachlan Morton, and they're all just flying up these climbs. And yeah, of course you just look at that like, oh, holy moly, but yeah.
Do you try to school them at all? Try to,
I mean,
put the fear of God in them? Like,
try.
How did you come to be on the Gateway Harley-Davidson team?
Yeah, so I've been bike racing for a while now. I started out racing a lot of cyclocross, and recently in the last couple of years transitioned more towards the road side of things. And I was actually recommended to the team by a director who recommended Sepp Kuss, who obviously has gone on to do great things, and he's recommended a number of other riders to the team. So
I understand that if we Google the right word, your wheeling technique will be, we can follow some of the videos that...
Yeah, it's not a wheelie, but there is a video of me hopping up some stairs in a cyclocross race that's has 20, 30 million views on YouTube. So a bit of a viral sensation.
Is that you? I've seen that one.
You probably have, yeah.
You're
yeah.
like...
Yeah, you're just, it's like hopping up some stairs in a cyclocross race, yeah.
Does that help the road racing at all?
I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt.
No, it can't hurt.
I have yet to have to hop up a staircase.
Well, if anybody falls in front of you, you might have a good chance of clearing it.
In theory.
Theoretically. So what are some of the races that you've done for the team yet, or have you not started racing with them?
Yeah, so just like everyone, I raced Valley of the Sun this last weekend, and I'm not entirely sure yet what my race schedule is this year, but looking forward to everything with the guys.
And talk a little bit about the camaraderie with your teammates, what it's like to train and race with these guys.
Yeah, so far it's been incredible. Just to see how all the guys came together for this local race here in Phoenix was impressive. So we started out working together this well and getting along this well. I can't even imagine what's going to be in store for the rest of the season.
And is there any pro races that you think about doing, like as a goal, as a sort of dream scenario?
Yeah, I think one of the coolest races has to be Milan San Remo, just because anyone can win. After it's like 300K or something.
It is, yeah, 300.
6 hours, and any type of rider can win that race. So if you can win that race, I think it's a pretty impressive one to have on your resume.
To say the least. Yeah. We're hoping that you'll win that race. No American winners. We won almost everything else, but no monuments. So could you help us out a little bit?
Yeah, I'll give her my best go.
I need some job security too, so I've got student loans.
Yeah, same, yeah.
The interest is crazy. Well, what are some of your goals for this year if you've thought that far ahead?
Yeah, and again, I don't know what my race schedule is yet, so it's hard to be concrete, but I'm really looking forward to helping some of the guys out in some of the stage races and going for some of the, like helping them out in the climbs and just trying to get
national champs, maybe? Do the national championships?
Possibly, yeah. I think racing pro nationals would be an incredible experience.
All right, well, should we bring the team out? You want to hang out a minute? We'll take a photo with the whole team, bring everybody back out, and best of luck in 2018.
Thanks.
All right, as long as they're still here, that there's no freak stand nearby with smoking ex-pros, sports directors.
while we're assembling, I just want to say thank you to the local community for coming here to support this amazing group of young athletes, and thank you to everybody from our team here at CycloLogic for putting all the hard work in to turn a bike shop into an event like we've put together.
Thanks everybody for coming out. And best of luck to Gateway Harley-Davidson Trek Verge. All right. This is going to be worth less now than
significantly less.
Everybody looking right here for me? Everybody looking here?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Want to get a good one. Somebody has to. Thank you.
All right. Best of luck, guys, this year. And we'll be following you guys on social media.
Mark, would you like to say anything before we wrap up? See you all Saturday, 8 a.m. start.